Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Alrighty, so it is time. We have reached the end of the year. Well, now we are in January when I'm recording this, but we have reached the end of 2024 and it is now time to go through every single book that I read last year. Now, a lot of these I have talked about in some wrap-ups over the last few months, but a lot of these I have not. So when we get to those ones that I have not ever spoken about on this channel, we're gonna go through them a little bit more in depth. But the ones that I have talked about before in previous wrap-ups, we are going to go through them very, very quickly just to not spend forever on this video because I don't want to be here forever. You probably don't want to be here forever. So let's just not be here forever. Alrighty, starting off in January, we have The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. This is a YA fantasy, first book in the Stolen Heir duology. It takes place in the Folk of the Air series, aka the Cruel Prince series. Like, it takes place in that same world, but this is a sequel series to that. You don't have to read the Cruel Prince to be able to understand this series. Anyway, this is basically about a Fae girl and her childhood crush that team up to stop her adoptive mother from taking over the world. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I like the main character, I do. I like her journey, I like her attitude, I like all that kind of stuff. This universe, just in general, is very cozy to me. It's never, like, my all-time favorite universe to be in, ever, but, like, it's always nice to be back in this universe, no matter what's going on. I will say, though, love interest, which is the little brother from the Cruel Prince series that everyone was fighting for to put on the throne or whatever. He's annoying here. He is very, very annoying here. And yeah, we will talk a little bit more about him when we get to the next book. Also in January, we have A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. This is a YA romantasy, a third and final book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. This series is basically like girl makes a deal with a trickster god, and then she moves up north to get her dream life with, like, you know, dream princess fairy tale life with, like, a prince and a castle and all this kind of shit. Has everything come down for her? It all comes crashing down when the trickster god that she made a deal with comes back to collect his debt. That's kind of what the series is. This is the final book in that series, and I gave it a 2.7 out of 5 stars. I was really looking forward to this, especially after the second book, and I just was kind of disappointed in it. This is the second time from Stephanie Garber where the final book in a series is honestly the worst book in a series. I felt that way about Finale when reading the Carvel series, and I felt that way here with the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. So, I don't know, maybe just like final books in a series are not her strong suit. I don't know, we all have strong suits and weaknesses as writers, whatever. This book felt very rushed in every single way possible, and honestly, just when the last book got me on board with the toxic main ship between Jax and Evangeline, this book reminded me why I can't stand Jax. I'm sorry, I know he's a fan favorite, I know he's probably Stephanie's most favorite, most popular character in her entire universe. I really just can't stand him. I find him to be an egotistical dipshit. But yeah, this book reminded me why I really don't like him and why I found their ship to be very toxic, in all honesty. Moving right along to February, we have We Could Be So Good by Cat Sebastian. This is an adult romance that takes place in 1950s New York with an annoyed co-workers to lovers trope. I DNFed this, but I will say this, it's nothing bad. I just simply DNF'd it because I started it near Valentine's Day and I figured, oh, it's Valentine's Day, month of love, I'm going to be in the mood for romance. I was not in the mood for romance last February for some reason. I just really was not. And I quickly figured that out upon picking this up. I was just like, you know what? I'm actually not in the mood to be in love. I'm really, really not. Like, fuck that. So I put this book down, but honestly, I think I will probably come back to it someday. So I'm not writing this off as like, oh, it was just so bad that I'm DNFing it. No, no, no. Like, I'm probably gonna return to this someday. Next is Empress of All Seasons by Umiko Jin. This is a YA fantasy about a demon girl hiding her identity to survive, a prince who doesn't want to rule, and a half-demon boy outcast, and the ways that those three will shape the future of their kingdom. I also DNF'd this one. Probably, I would have really liked this one about like 6 to 8 years ago when I was like, I don't know, like 15, 16, something like that. I honestly just outgrew it by the time I finally got around to reading it, so yeah, it happens. It's not the book's fault, it's not my fault, you know, it just happens. It happens sometimes. Next is Rivals by Catherine McGee. This is a YA slash new adult romance slash light urban fantasy. It's the third book in the American Royal series, which is basically just the series that asks, hey, what if the United States, instead of having a presidency, what if they had a monarchy? And it basically just follows the lives of the American royals and their friends and enemies. That's basically what the series is, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I honestly like that we are fleshing out the world a little bit more in this one. I like all the various different plot lines in this one, and the ending to this one is so melodramatic. It's so soap opera-y, and I love it for that one. Like people running away, people getting in car crashes, all this kind of stuff. Pregnancy scares, all this kind of stuff. Like, it's so soap opera-y how this one ends, and I love it. I was living for it. Next is One of Us is Back by Karen M. McManus. This is a YA thriller. It is the third and final book in the One of Us is Lying series. In this one, cryptic threatening messages start popping up all around the city of Bayview, and people start like getting kidnapped, and things feel like they're being connected to like old evils of the past, with like old villains coming back and whatnot. That's kind of what this book is about. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The main purpose of this book is honestly just to have the cast of the other previous two books come together and just like hang out as besties. That's basically why this book was written. That is what this book is for. It's basically just for the super fans who like to go on like Wattpad or AO3 and write fan fictions about like, ooh, what if this person hung out? What if this person and this person were best friends? Blah, blah, blah. That's basically what this book is. The plot is, it kind of felt thrown together. Everyone who was not a POV character felt very stagnant in their development. But, what saved this one from going into like a 2 or a solid 3-star for me was the fact that the POV characters that were chosen for this one, especially, I want to say, Nate and Addie from the first book, their development and the way that their stories and growth as characters came to a satisfying close in this one was so good to read, honestly. Like, I really, really loved the development that the POV characters had in this book, and the progression of their stories as a whole, honestly. Like, I really, really did. I really, really loved it. And that's honestly why this one gets more geared towards a 4-star rather than like the 3 or the 2.5 that it probably should. Next up is Rebel by Marie Lu. This is a dystopia book. It is the 4th and final entry in the Legends series that takes place a decade after the main trilogy. It's technically a YA, but it's written more so for the fans that originally grew up with the Legends series and now they're a bit older, so it kind of leans more new adult, but yeah. Daniel and Eden, two brothers, they are estranged. They are living in Antarctica. They have been for the past 10 years after the events of the original series, but they are estranged now. Their relationship is not what it once was, and they need to figure out what the heck is going on between them and start, getting back to being sibling besties again, because the younger brother, Eden, gets involved with an undercity crime mob boss, which gets the older brother, Daniel, in trouble at his job with the Antarctica CIA, basically. So we got to figure out what we're doing here, because now we're getting involved with crime. We're getting people in trouble with their jobs. Like we got to figure out what's going on with our sibling dynamic here and stuff like that. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Was this book ultimately needed in the universe? No, not really. But did I really enjoy it? Yes, I really, really did. I really, really like this one. I love the siblings working out their issues. The world is cool, as always. Oh, June and Day, they finally got together after all this time. They finally worked it out and were able to finally come and be together at long last. And the final chapter with them is very beautiful. It is just everything a fan could want, honestly, between them. I really, really love their relationship in this one. Now, the thing that dropped it from a 5 to a 4-star is the ending pertaining to the government and how, after setting up it in the entire book of like the government's evil, the system's bad, we need to take down the system's corrupt, blah, 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 blah. The government is evil. Down to a fundamental core, the system is corrupt. At the end of this book, we go to like, oh, well, well, maybe we can put it back in place. It's okay. It's okay. Like, we don't need to change too much. Like, actually, if we're gonna change things, that's evil. Actually, like, yeah, it's bad. But like, trying to change things, that's even worse. So, we just need to go back to the status quo. I honestly hated that. I really, really did. Yeah, you could say that it's a spoiler, but oh well. I honestly really hated that about this book, but so I dropped it from a 5 to a 4-star. Oh well. Moving right along into March, we have A Sky Beyond the Storm by Saba Tahir. This is a YA/new adult fantasy. It's billed as YA. She says it's YA. I say, in my personal opinion, art is subjective, that these books are kind of more new adult, in my honest opinion, just because of the themes and how they're written and also the characters' ages. It's a YA/new adult fantasy, fourth and final book in the Ember in the Ashes series. I don't even know how to describe this series to y'all. I really, really don't, because it starts out as basically just us trying to like spy on and defy and escape the evil empire, basically. And then along the course of the journey, we go to like this immortal being of like thousands of years old or like millions of years old, trying to like end all life on Earth, basically. I don't know how to describe this series to y'all, because like it's so big. It is so big in its plot and also all the different little nuances with the characters. So I don't exactly know how to perfectly describe it to y'all. But it's good. It's really, really good, y'all. It's really, really good. 5 out of 5 stars from me. Again, like all the other books in this series. If you've been here for a minute, you know that I love Ember in the Ashes. It is one of my all-time favorite series, quite honestly. This one is filled with so much love and loss and drama and tension and heartbreak and interesting developments and epic battles. I laughed, I cried, I felt all of the emotions while reading this one. It is honestly just such a great finale to everything, and I loved how the main trio, Leia, Ellis, and Helene, all ended up in life. Oh my god, I freaking love those characters. I freaking love how they ended up in life, and I'm honestly just so happy with how the series ended up. If you love fantasy, if you have any interest in the fantasy genre, please go read Ember in the Ashes. Front to back, it is such a great series, in all honesty. Next up is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. This is an adult thriller about this woman who is the daughter of an alleged serial killer that is rotting away in prison currently. But in the present day, new murders start happening that seem extremely familiar to how her dad used to kill people. So like, oh, how can that be? He's rotting away in jail. How are people dying the same way that he used to kill them? Blah, blah, blah. I DNF'd this one. I did. I DNF'd this one, and this book honestly made me realize that I really, really, really hate American domestic thrillers. Every single American domestic thriller that I've read, I have either hated or I've ended up DNFing because I hated it. So I don't know. I don't know why that is. I don't know why Americans can't really write this little niche that well, in my opinion. For some reason, the British just do it better. I don't know why. I don't know why. Let's move on. Next is Legendborn by Tracy Dion. This is a YA urban fantasy, first in a trilogy, the Legendborn cycle. It is about a girl who joins this King Arthur-inspired Illuminati to investigate if, how, and why they played a role into her mother's death. I gave this a 4.8 out of 5 stars. I knocked it down 0.2 stars simply because the climax was a little bit confusing for me, but other than that, I love this series. I love this book. I love this series. We will talk about the second one in a little bit. Oh my god, I love Bree, the main character. I love the side characters. I love the lore. I love the magic. I love the plot. I love the character arc that Bree goes on. I love just everything about this book, everything about the series is so freaking good. I love the writing. I love everything. Oh my god. Next is Counterfeit by Christian Chen. This is an adult contemporary about these two ladies who run a counterfeit luxury handbag scheme. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It's nothing special. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just kind of forgettable, in all honesty. Next up is Rain by Catherine McGee. This is the 4th and final book in the American Royal series. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. We honestly dropped the ball when it came to how everyone's stories ended, because either the plotline was boring or the ending of their ending was just kind of unsatisfying. But like, For some reason, I kind of still liked it. I thought it was still kind of a fun journey for some reason. I don't know. Sue me. Moving right along into April, we have The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. This is the second book in the Stolen Heir duology. In this one, the POV is shifted from the Fae girl onto her love interest Prince. 2.5 out of 5 stars. Boring. Yawning. Ugh. Okay, I still found the guy to be very, very annoying in this one. And honestly, even though he's a POV character, he might as well just be a side character because he's just not useful at all in this book. Like, at all. Which is very ironic because in this one, we deal less with the girl's side of things, with like her family and whatnot, and we deal more so with the guy's side of the family because he's like tied to like the Royal High Court, and we're dealing with the Royal High Court more. So we're dealing a lot more with his family and whatnot. Even still, he just didn't really do anything. He was very boring. He did not progress the plot really at all, even though he's supposed to be the main character. And it's just like, okay, you're annoying and you don't really do anything. Pick a struggle. Pick a struggle, dude. Next up is Inheritance by Catherine McGee. This is a prequel novella for the American Royal series. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars, honestly. You know, despite being a novella, it's honestly the second best entry in the series right after the second book. And yeah, I don't really want to say more about it for fear of spoiling anything. So yeah, I would just say that it was pleasantly enjoyable. Next up is Star Wars Inquisitor Rise of the Red Blade by Delilah S. Dawson. This is an adult book. You follow a Jedi-turned Inquisitor on her descent into darkness throughout the Clone Wars and into the early years of the Empire. I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. The first 100 pages are a slog to get through, I will say that. They very much were. Before we got to the 100 page mark, I was like, okay, we're kind of on DNF alert. But after we got past the first 100 pages, it picked up, and it picked up quickly. And I was like, okay, we're doing this. We're getting interesting. Okay, I'm liking this. I really am. I'm liking this. My only gripe with this is that I really do think the epilogue should have been cut, because the epilogue is basically a retelling of a Darth Vader comic series that features the main character and her love interest in it. So the epilogue retells that comic series and what happens to the main character in her journey's end. Basically, you can kind of figure out after I've mentioned Darth Vader. But I really do wish that epilogue had been cut, because I feel like this series should have been at least 2 books, if not 3, instead of just being a standalone. But yeah, that's my only gripe with this series, is that I just wish it had been more books, honestly. Moving right along into May, we have Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This is a YA fantasy and the first in the Legend of Orisha trilogy. Okay, so several years ago, all magic and most of its users were like exterminated from existence, all right? The government just came in and said, we hate magi, y'all gotta die. And now though, like over a decade later, it seems that there is a way to finally bring magic back so that the magi and their descendants and what's left of them can finally rise up against the evil government that hunts them down and enslaves them. This follows a magi girl, a princess sympathetic to the magi people, and the crown prince doing whatever possible to stop magic from returning. All right, that's the basic setup of the series. 4.8 out of 5 stars from me. This is why reading fantasy that is not exclusively medieval Europe inspired whatever. This is why reading fantasy outside of medieval Europe stuff is so important. This North African inspired fantasy is so freaking interesting. It is so cool. The world is cool. The characters are interesting. The magic is cool. Everything about this series is just very, very interesting. It's very cool. The journey is fun. The characters are likable, and all of the characters provide a very unique and interesting view of the world and its people and all of that. Like, it's just cool. This was a very good experience, and I really did love it. Next is All That's Left in the World by Eric J. Brown. This is a YA dystopian romance about 2 guys surviving the post-apocalyptic wasteland of the United States of America, and it is the first in a duology. Now, this one, 5 out of 5 stars. It is a top 3 read for me of the year. Okay, so you know how authors really want to get like specific reactions out of the audience? Like, oh, I really want the audience to feel happy here. I really want the audience to feel sad here, blah, whatever. This book, in all honesty, out of every single book that I've ever read in my entire life, did it better than any other book that I've ever read. Like, I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds crazy because it's like a little YA dystopian romance. Like, how deep can it be? Can it really be? But like, it was crazy. Like, I was reading this, and every single point, every single emotion that the author wanted me to feel, I felt. When the author wanted me to feel happy, I was happy. When the author wanted me to feel scared, I was scared. When the author wanted me to feel, I don't know, mad, I was mad. Like, whatever the author wanted me to feel, I felt in that moment, and it was just like, okay, this is really cool. Like, that's a really cool experience. What also made this a very, very beloved book for me is it took one of my least favorite tropes, miscommunication. I let me repeat, hate miscommunication. I do. Every other time that I've ever read or seen miscommunication in like a book or a movie or whatever, I found it very, very stupid and was just like, just talk. Just fucking talk. Have one damn conversation and move on. But in this book, I was like, okay, wait. I understand why y'all are not talking. I understand why y'all are not talking. Because, okay, let's set the scene here. We are currently in a world where, like, everybody is out to get everybody. It's every man for himself, every woman for himself, every child for themselves, every animal for themselves, okay? Nobody is safe. You are not safe no matter where you go. It is a fight for survival out here. So when you find the, like, one person in the entire freaking world who not only doesn't want to kill you, but you can actually trust with your entire life and become friends with that person? Okay, yeah, I understand why at that point, if you start developing feelings for that person, you probably don't want to, like, talk about your crush and be like, hey, I like you, on the off chance that they're going to be like, oh, that's not, okay, I actually don't feel that way about you in return, and now it's just very awkward. Okay, now it's just very awkward. Now it's like, okay, well, we tried that, and now it's like, okay, you know I like you, but you don't like me, and now, okay, well, that's very awkward, and now we kind of have to navigate this world awkwardly, and if it gets, and might get too awkward, and we might want to separate because we just can't stand the awkwardness of it all. Okay, great. So I understood why these two did not want to talk about their feelings whatsoever and not run into that possibility of the other being like, oh, well. So this book actually did miscommunication very, very well. This is probably like the only time that I've ever liked miscommunication, honestly. And that, and paired with the controlling my emotions very, very well, deems it one of my favorite books of the year. It's so good. Next is Home Sweet Motel by Chris Garberstein. I hope I pronounced that name right. Anyway, this is a middle grade contemporary about a boy doing extravagant things to raise money to save his family's motel from going out of business. I give it a 3.6 out of 5 stars. Look, I read middle grade every once in a while when I am in a reading slump because, you know, it's fun, it's fluffy, it's quick, it was cute, it was fun, it was short, yeah. Moving right along into June, we have Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is an adult contemporary coming-of-age / romance. It's billed as a romance, but in my opinion, it's also a coming-of-age story, even though everyone is like 30 years old. So this group of friends goes on their yearly vacation together, but it's becoming very, very clear that, like, their lives, everyone in the friend group is kind of moving in different directions. They're all going down different paths in their lives, and it's becoming very, very obvious that, like, their dynamic, their friendship, their bond cannot remain the same as it once did during their college years. It needs to grow, it needs to change, it needs to evolve, even if that growth and change is scary. The main lady is exes with someone on the trip, but everyone else doesn't really know that her and her ex-fiance broke up, and the two of them just kind of want to keep it on the low key because they're like, okay, this weekend already seems kind of awkward enough. Our friends are getting married, blah, blah, blah. There's kind of tension in the air, so we don't need to add our mess on top of all that. So let's just keep it low key and have everyone keep thinking that we're still together, blah, blah, blah. And it is a romance, so you can guess how well that works out for them. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. It was just good vibes all around, honestly. Like, okay, I don't agree with what the main lady does at the end. I will say that. I don't agree with her life choices, but that's neither here nor there. I don't need to agree with every single choice that a main character does in order to like them. But yeah, overall, it was just good. It was just pleasant, good vibes all around. Next up is Crooked Kingdom by Lee Bardugo. This is a YA fantasy, 5th book in the Grishaverse and 2nd book in the Six of Crows duology. Now, the first book is about this group of misfits being hired to pull off the heist of the century. This one is about getting revenge on the people who double-crossed them at the end of the first book. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. This was so much better than the first one. Now this one, I was like, okay, this is really good, this is really fun, this is really hype, this is one of my all-time favorites in the Grishaverse as just a whole. Every single character arc meets a very satisfying end. Yes, even that one. You know which one I'm talking about if you've read this book. Yes, even that one. The missions in this one are so fun to follow. The ships are sailing, all of them. All the ships are freaking sailing, especially mine that I really do love the most. I just love everything about this book. It's really, really good. It's really, really fun. Like, the author has said, by the way, that there might be a third one in the series. There might be a third book in the series. But honestly, even if she never gets around to writing a third book, this honestly is a very good ending for all the characters and what they want to do in life. So yeah, moving right along into July, we have Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. This is a YA sci-fi that I think, keyword think, because I still don't exactly know what this book is about, but I think it's basically Romeo and Juliet in space, okay? But I DNFed it, okay? I got like 8 pages in, I was already confused, and I just said, I don't really want to deal with this, so let's move on. Next is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is an adult romance. It is a retelling of Achilles and Patroclus' epic love story from their childhood all the way into war. It's a Greek mythos retelling, yada yada yada. 5 out of 5 stars. It is one of my top 3 favorite books of the year. Sobbing for hours after reading this one. I really do love it. I'm not into Greek mythos. I did not have a Greek mythos phase in middle school. I did not like Percy Jackson. I did not have to study Greek mythology in school whatsoever, so I never went through a Greek mythos phase. But this book, honestly, loved it inside and out, front page to back page, all of it. It was so freaking good. Oh my god, the writing too. The writing is just a 12 out of 10 on the writing scale. This book will honestly make you feel worse about your own writing. Like, you know, in the author community, when people are like, oh, if you feel bad about your writing, go read terrible books. Colleen Hoover, Sarah J. Maas, whatever. Like oh, go read terrible books if you feel bad about your writing, and you'll get a confidence boost. This one, you go read Madeline Miller's writing and her ability to string together words and sentences and paragraphs and chapters, and you will feel worse about your work in progress. You after reading this book, you will go and look at the thing that you're writing and be like, oh, maybe I should delete this. Maybe I should just delete this and stop trying to pursue publishing. Like, maybe I should, because I'm never going to hold a candle to her writing. Okay, yeah. But yeah, I freaking love this book so much. It is so freaking good. Oh my god. Even if you don't like Greek mythology, just go read this. It is so freaking good. I love this so much. Next is Star Wars Thrawn Ascendancy, Chaos Rising. This is an adult book. You follow Grand Admiral Thrawn before his time with the Galactic Empire in the unknown regions with his time in the Chiss Ascendancy. I DNF'd this one. It's not the book, it's me. For some reason, I do enjoy the Thrawn books, most of them. I didn't like the one where he was teaming up with Anakin. That one was kind of boring to me. But like, for the most part, I do like the Thrawn books. But for some reason, when I try to read them physically, I get very, very confused about what's going on, even if I know exactly what's going on. For some reason, I get confused. They just do that to my brain for some reason. I don't know why. So I just didn't really want to deal with that when I was reading this one. I got like 100 pages in. It was like, you know what? let's just stop. I want to give my brain a break. Like, yeah, I do. But, so yeah, I did DNF it. But in the future, I may come back to it. If I decide to get it on audio, I probably will come back to it and finish it, honestly. Next is The Only Light Left Burning by Eric J. Brown. This is the follow-up to All That's Left in the World. And I gave this one a 2.8 out of 5 stars. Yeah. Look, the biggest things that were amiss for me were A, there were 5 billion new characters. Oh my god, the character soup in this one. Oh my god. Look, some of the new characters I really did like, but there were just too many. I cannot get invested in like 50 damn people, okay? I can't. I'm sorry. I can't. But then also B, the main couple was just fighting the entire book. Oh my god. And I'm sorry. Like, listen, that they were literally fighting for like 70% of the book, and the only reason that they eventually stopped fighting was because they were literally forcibly separated onto completely different sides of the country. They only came back to each other at like the final chapter before the epilogue. So like the 99% mark. So pretty much for the entire book, they were just fighting. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but for a romance, I don't find fighting romantic. I don't. You know, I don't. Okay, I don't want my ship fighting the entire time, you know? So, yeah. It was just a miss for me. It really was. It was just a miss for me, but I still do have an interest in reading the author's other book, something about like waiters or whatever from like rival restaurants, I think. I don't know. Something like that. But I do still have an interest in reading the author's other book that they have published. Moving right along into August, we have The Maze Runner by James Dashner. This is a YA dystopia about this group of guys all trapped in this humongous maze like lab rats until the main boy and a girl get sent up into the maze and like weird shit starts happening with everything. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars, and it's kind of weird because like I have a lot of complaints about this one, but at the same time I was kind of into it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, okay, first of all, the main dude, Thomas, I think his name is. I don't remember. I'm not good with names, okay? That's a common thing with me. I'm not good with names. But anyway, the main character, he's such a Mary Sue. Oh my god. The bitch is such a Mary Sue. I was just like, oh my god. Oh my god. And people want to complain about Captain Marvel. And people want to complain about Rey Skywalker. No, honey. You want to Mary Sue? Go read this book. This is the definition of a Mary Sue, okay? Anyway, but like, he's a Mary Sue and he's annoying. Like, oh, dude, pick a struggle. This was also just the most forced endgame that I've ever seen in my life. The ship is literally just, hey, main boy character, main girl character, pair them together. No other reason. That's it. Oh my god, there isn't even a lot of romance in this one, but it's just like, okay, I can see the writing on the wall. I can see that, like, oh, we have this mental connection. Like, okay, pop the ring, bitch, already. Like, it's only been a day, but I guess just pop the ring, because that's where the author's taking this. It's so obvious that's what the author wants to do. It's like, it was so forced. Oh my god, like, ugh, oh my god. Also, like, am I supposed to believe that all these guys are friends with each other? Because I'm pretty sure that's what the author wanted me to think, that like, oh, everyone's friends here. Everyone works together as a community. No, bitch, they didn't. Okay, no, well, working as a community, that was kind of did that. But like, all friends? All these guys are friends? No. All they did was fight and cuss each other out 24/7. Oh my god, please. And also, yes, I do understand the comparisons to Hunger Games with this one, because this book was honestly just like, hey, make it Hunger Games, but for the boys who grew up in households where they were not allowed to read books with main girl characters. Okay? Like make it Hunger Games for those types of households. Okay? So, why did I sound like a fucking rooster right there? Anyway, but like, yeah, so as much as I complain about it, the ending kind of did leave me like, maybe I'll read the next one. I don't know, maybe. I mean, I'm not going to support the author financially. I can get these through my library, so that's kind of the only reason that I'm like, oh, maybe I'll read them. The ending was kind of interesting. Maybe I'll read the rest of the series. I don't know. This is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Motar and Max Gladstone. This is an adult literary sci-fi romance about time travelers who work for different governments that are caught in a war across time itself. The two start leaving notes for each other to find that start off very tauntingly, but then turn flirtily. Flirtily, is that a word? It is now. I gave this one a 2 out of 5 stars. It's technically on my bottom 3 worst of the year list because I don't consider DNFs when I'm thinking of bottom 3 worst of the years. But like, I don't hate this nearly as much as my other 2 bottom 3 worst of the list. It was just like somebody had to fill the third slot, and this just is. Anyway, it's not really a problem with the book itself, with the novella itself. It's just a problem with me, honestly. This one made me realize that I'm really not into literary. I don't particularly like it. Literary is just not for me. I am a commercial fiction bitch all through and through. That's kind of what I like, and this just helped me realize that. But if you like it, I love that for you. Next is How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate Stories by Holly Black. This is a YA fantasy novella set before, during, and after the events of the Cruel Prince series, focused on the Cruel Prince in question and stories about his life. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. It's a perfectly fine novella. It does exactly what I would expect a novella to do. It gives a cute little side story that is great for, super fans of the series, but it is not needed to understand what else is going on, is not needed to understand the main series. It's just a fun side story for super fans. Next is King of Scars by Lee Bardugo. This is a YA fantasy, 6th book in the Grishaverse, 1st book in the King of Scars duology. This follows a king battling the literal demon trapped inside of him and his girl boss general as they investigate weird magical natural anomalies happening all across their country of Ravka. Across the border in the northern country, I forget its name, Fredra, that's the name of the other country. Across the border, there is this other lady who is processing the grief of a loved one and working as a spy to smuggle magical people to safe havens, or else they are hung for being witches. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now, unpopular opinion, but I personally really like Shadow and Bone, the series, more than the Six of Crows books. So when this one came around to focusing more on the Shadow and Bone side of things, with like revisiting some of those characters like Nikolai and Zoya and like Genya and all those types of people, I was like, oh, I'm here for it because I have missed these people so much. I freaking love these people. But also the Nina plotline was very, very interesting too. I did enjoy that one too. It was interesting. I really liked what Nikolai and Zoya were doing more so in the first book than I was enjoying what Nina was doing. But in the second half of the book, I actually enjoyed what Nina was doing more than what Nikolai and Zoya were doing. So that was very interesting. I will say this, when it comes to climaxes, the Nina spy plotline, that climax is very, very good. It was very, very interesting. But the Nikolai Zoya plotline, that climax was kind of boring. I don't know what it is. For some reason, it comes back to like authors and their strong suits and weak points. When it comes to writing like big epic battles on a battlefield or something like big magical battles, Lee Bardugo is not the best at that, in my opinion. I felt like the big climactic battles in Shadow and Bone, the book, Rune and Rising, and now this one for the Nikolai Zoya plotline are not very good. They're kind of boring, in my opinion. Like, despite how much I love all these books, the climaxes are kind of boring. So, like, I don't know. But, like, there was also the twist at the end, if you know, you know, where I was just like, okay, hold on. We've got a world war on our hands. We're basically going to war with every single damn country in the world, basically. Right? Why do we need this? Why does Lord Voldemort need to return? Why do we need that? Anyway, but yeah, for the most part, I really did enjoy it. It was just, kind of towards the end, it was like, oh, okay. Next up is Divergent by Veronica Roth. This is a YA dystopia about this girl who lives in a world divided into different Hogwarts houses. Oh, I mean cults. Oh, sorry, I mean factions. Based on your personality, she chooses to live in a different cult than the one she grew up in, and it's just her fighting to be accepted into the new Hogwarts house and her hiding her neurodivergence, because apparently being neurodivergent in this world is very, very bad and will get you in trouble with the government for some reason. It's never really explained, but okay, sure, why not? 1 out of 5 stars, bottom 3 worst of the year. This one and the other bottom 3 worst of the year that we will talk about in a minute are fighting for that first spot. They really, really are. Oh my god. Who at publishing saw this, read it in its current state, and was like, oh my god, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. Bestie, send it to Books A Million. Oh my god, put it on shelves. It's so good. Who did that? Who at publishing read this and was like, greenlight it. Oh my god, give it a movie deal. Oh my god, it's so good. Really? Really? Not to be me. Look, no shade to Veronica Roth. I'm sure she's a lovely lady. It's just this book, I really cannot stand this book. I'm sorry. If you've seen my video on it, you know how much I do not like this book. It is so freaking bad. Oh my god. It's just in every single way. Writing, character arcs, world building, plot, whatever you want to say about like what makes a good book, this book does not cross any of the check marks. It really does not. I'm sorry, it does not. And I don't understand the comparisons to Hunger Games, because the only similarity that I could find between Divergent and Hunger Games is that they share the same genre, the same YA, sci-fi, dystopia, the government's evil, blah blah blah. That's kind of that's the genre that they inhabit, and so many books fall into that same genre. But that's kind of like the only similarity that I could find between Hunger Games and this one. And I was just like, why are these two compared so often? Why are they compared so often? I don't understand. They're not really similar at all. Anyway, if anything, like I made a joke earlier, this book is more comparable to Harry Potter, because like the factions themselves are basically just glorified Hogwarts houses, because both the factions and both the houses of Hogwarts are like, okay, they are very devoted to themselves. Like, okay, this cult that you are going to be in, it's going to be your life. It's going to be your entire life. It defines you. If you are sorted into Gryffindor, you are a Gryffindor, nothing else. That is it. That is your life. That is your personality. If you are sorted into Erudite, you are an Erudite. That is your life. Those are the only people that you can talk to. Those are your friends. Those are your family. That's the place where you eat, go to work, blah 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 blah. Everything. Erudite is your life if you are Erudite. Ravenclaw is your life if you are Ravenclaw. Whatever. And I was just like, okay. But then also they're very similar, because both houses and factions have this like being defined and making like one personality trait their entire identity. Like, oh, if you are strong, you are in Dauntless, whatever, Dauntless. If you are strong, you are Dauntless. The strong people go to Dauntless. Nobody else goes to Dauntless. Just the strong people, okay? The rich bitches go to Erudite or whatever. The smart people go to Ravenclaw. The losers go to Hufflepuff. The evil people go to Slytherin. The like conservatives go to... What was Trish's original faction name? Whatever Trisha's original faction was. Whatever that one was. It's like, okay, we get it. Everybody took a personality quiz, and then that's where they're headed for life. We get it. Okay. But yeah, I'm sorry. I said I wasn't gonna go on and on about these books if I cover them in a previous video, And yet I went on and on about this one. I'm sorry. Let's move on. Let's move on. But yeah, I didn't like this one. The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. Now, fun fact, I was actually originally going to read this for that video where I read Maze Runner and Divergent because I thought that it was more similar than it actually was to those books. But then when I actually started reading it, I was like, it's actually not very similar to those books. It's not. So I took it out of that video, and also I just really didn't want to finish it. I did not want to finish this book whatsoever. Anyway, The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. This is a YA sci-fi about a girl trying to survive in a post-apocalyptic world after aliens invade and kill almost all of humanity. DNF. Like I said, didn't want to finish it, DNF. I'm gonna say this right now. I honestly think the author is a weirdo. I don't need to see him in any interviews or like read his like social media accounts. Just based on this alone, I think the author's a weirdo. I really, really do. I don't know. This was published like years ago, so maybe he's grown and changed. Hopefully, I hope. But like just based on this, I think he's an honest weirdo. Like there were so many offhand comments and moments that just gave me the ick when I was like, ew. Why would you say that? Why would you write that? That there was one time when the main character was having like this full-on mental breakdown, like her world's ending, she's about to be shot and killed, blah, blah, blah. She's having a mental breakdown, all right? And all she can think of in that moment, not the fact that there's like a sniper outside trying to kill her, not the fact that almost everybody she knows and loves is dead, not the fact that like the aliens have taken over and just ruined her life basically. No. The only thing that she can think about in that moment while she's having a mental breakdown is just, oh, dear God, I wish I had the capability. I wish I could have my crush's children. Huh? Excuse me? Ew, that was just weird. You're weird. You're a weirdo for that. Oh my God. And also, I was just so bored. Like when the book started going back in time and talking about like the like days before the invasion and the weeks in the early stages of the invasion, I was just so bored because it kept going on and nothing was happening in those chapters. It was not interesting. Nothing was happening in those chapters. I did not care. It was just so boring. So you're both boring and you're a weirdo. Chop. Next. Beach Read by Emily Henry. This is an adult romance about two authors stuck in creative ruts, so they challenge each other to stop writing in their usual genre and instead write a book in the genre that the other one usually writes. So they are swapping genres. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. Oh, this was so much fun. This was so much fun. One thing about Miss Emily Henry, she's going to give you fun banter between the main character and the love interest. I love Beach Read so freaking much. I totally 100% see this hype. I see the hype between Emily Henry as a whole. I freaking love her so freaking much. I love the like book research dates where they would take each other to go do research for the book. Like, the woman who usually writes romance, she would take the guy who is now being challenged to write romance. She would take him to like a carnival or something and be like, hey, this could be a lot like a meet cute idea. Oh, this is like a fun date idea. And then like the guy who usually writes these like deep introspective literary murder cult books would take the lady who is supposed to write like a literary cult book and just drag her along to like go interview some like deeply depressed and like angsty and like whatever people who have had their lives ruined by cults and whatever. Like it I'm sorry, the book research dates were just so fun. They were so cute. I'm sorry, even the darker ones were just kind of cute. I love the mess. I love the family drama. I love the fun writing competition element. Oh my God, this was just so good. I fully see the hype. I love this book so much. I love Emily Henry. I love it. Let's move on. Moving right along into September, we have reached the point of time where the rest of these books I have not covered in a video or a wrap-up or whatever. At any point, these are the first time my YouTube audience is hearing about these books. So we are going to talk about them a little bit more in depth if possible. But yeah, anyway, let's move on. Star Wars Path of Vengeance by Cavan Scott. This is a YA book. It is the final book in Phase 2 of the High Republic era. I didn't know that at the time. I will say that. It is my first High Republic era book. I didn't know that it was a second book in a series, much less the final book of an entire phase, but we will get to that in a moment. This focuses on this cult that believes that the Jedi abuse the Force with their powers and wants to spread their religion to anyone and everyone who will listen, even by forceful means. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. Okay, so a little backstory. I got this for Christmas in 2023. I did. And I was kind of putting it off because, like, it's High Republic. Not really interested in that. Like, maybe I'll get to it someday, blah, blah, blah. But then I watched The Acolyte, and I'm still so mad that show was canceled. Oh my god, I love that show so much. But, like, I feel like I watched The Acolyte, and I was like, I want more High Republic era stories. It's time to finally read that High Republic book that I got for Christmas. And like I said, I didn't know anything going into it. I didn't know that it was the second in a duology. I didn't know that it was the second of an entire phase of the High Republic. And even still, the author does an amazing job of catching you up and catching you up quickly. And not only catching you up, but also getting you invested at the same time. Like, I was not confused whatsoever. I knew I could follow perfectly what was going on, what was happening. Yes, there were some points where I was like, okay, this would have probably emotionally hit harder if I had read the first book before this one, but even still, I understood perfectly what was going on, and I was invested. I was into this. This is like really, really good. Like, oh my god, this is so good. The Force is often like casually mentioned to be like, viewed in religious ways in Star Wars, but it's never really like delved into too much. I think like the biggest the deepest it's ever gone is like some like lore about the planet of Jeddah, or like that one arc in the Clone Wars where like Yoda went on his spiritual journey, but it's never been like a big thing in Star Wars. It's always just been like a very casual background thing. So being able to actually go into this aspect of the galaxy, this like how people, just normal people, view the Force, how they view it religiously, how they worship it, and all this kind of stuff, and their beliefs surrounding it. That was so interesting. It really is so interesting. I really did enjoy it, and honestly, this made me want to read more High Republic books. So I kind of do want to like map out what the order of High Republic books and like read and like get more into reading them in 2025. I really, really do. Next is The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. This is an adult romance about these two exes who end up booking the same food and wine tour through Europe and now gotta be around each other for the next month. I gave this one a 2.9 out of 5 stars. It's like bordering on 3, but not quite at 3. It's like a 2.9, Now listen, I love all of the other books by this author, particularly Red, White, and Royal Blue. Obviously, if you've been here for a minute, you know that I have not shut up about that fucking book and that fucking movie this entire damn year. But particularly, I do love that book, and also One Last Stop by this author. I do also enjoy their other book, I Kiss Shara Wheeler. Like Red, White, and Royal Blue and One Last Stop, I freaking love those books. I freaking love those books. So when they announced that this one was coming out, I was like, slam dunk. Slam dunk. This is going to be a slam dunk. This is going to be so good. I'm so excited for this. And yeah, it was just not very good. I'm sorry. It was just not very, very good. I will say this. The author did accomplish their goal of writing a smutty food and wine book through Europe. That's kind of their goal going into this book, and they did accomplish that goal. So props to that. One main character, Theo, was annoying. The other main character, Kit, just had really no personality besides pining after Theo. And the list of side characters, except for Fabrizio, the tour guide on the tour, most of the other side characters just didn't really have any personality. They were very forgettable. Again, except for Fabrizio, I feel like he was the most memorable character in this book. I really did like him. This is my main problem with the whole book. It's really, really bad when I'm reading a romance book and I feel that the main couple works better as friends with benefits rather than an actual romantic couple. Like, every single time that these two try to be, like, just normal, cute couple, they would just bicker into fighting. They really, really would. They would just devolve into arguments. But when they were trying to be friends, they could be friends. When they were being lovers, oh, they could be lovers. But when they were just trying to be like partners, it was just like, ooh, it's just not working out. So I see, yeah, it's really bad when I'm reading a romance book and I think that the main couple, instead of being romantically together, should just be friends with benefits, honestly. Next is Here for the Wrong Reasons by Annabelle Paulson and Linda Wang. This is an adult romance about these two ladies who go on The Bachelor, basically. It's not called The Bachelor, it's called something different, but it's The Bachelor, we all know it. And instead of falling for the guy, they end up falling for each other. I ended up DNFing this one. The book is formatted where you get a chapter from one of the main ladies, and then a chapter from another one of the main ladies, and then a chapter that is like a confessional, a recap of like all of the women on the show getting together and talking about what just happened on the show. Okay, like you know how reality TV goes. While the formatting is unique and it makes sense for this book, the formatting is also what lost me. Because it was just like, okay, we are very early in the book. You were trying to get me invested in all 20-something of these women. I just met these people. I do not know who is who. I cannot possibly get invested in all 20 of these women. I'm sorry, I cannot. You are trying very hard to get me invested in all of them. I'm sure other people can. I personally cannot, so I just dropped it for that reason. But I wouldn't say don't go read this book. I would say knowing that information, knowing how it's formatted, if that sounds interesting to you, go read this book. You will probably really enjoy it. I think it could be really enjoyable in the right audience. Next is Bloodmarked by Tracy Dion. This is the second book in the Legendborn Cycle series. 5 out of 5 stars. This is even better than the first book, and I am so excited. I am so excited for the third book to come out in March. Oh my god, I'm so excited for the third book to come out, and this one was even better than the first one. I just love Brie. I love her journey. I love the core side characters even more. They're even more likable in this one than in the first one. The world and lore expansions for this one are just so cool and fascinating, and I loved learning more about the root crafter side of magic. Because, like, you know, the first one focused really heavily on the order side of things, and so this one focused more on the root crafter side of things. I really loved learning more about, like, root crafter magic and all that kind of stuff. Just the journey, the plot, girl, the plot. Oh, I was living for it. I was here for it. I was living for it. I was living for it. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. Next is Most Ardently by Gabe Cole-Nuova. This is a YA historical romance that is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice, where the main character of Elizabeth has been changed to be a trans boy. So yes, it is both a trans and gay version of Pride and Prejudice. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Now, I haven't read Pride and Prejudice, the original, yet. I am planning to do that this year, though. So I can't judge this book as a retelling, but just on its own, I thought that this book was very cute, I thought it was very sweet, and I found how the main character viewed himself and the world around him, and how the world views him, and how in turn how the world views him affects how he views himself and all that kind of stuff. I found that very interesting. I found it very, very fascinating, and I could also tell that it came from a very personal place for the author. I really, really could. So I just really liked it. I thought it was very, very good. It was very quick. It was very, very good. I honestly could have dealt with it being a little bit longer, honestly. Like, I felt like the last few chapters felt a little bit rushed, but like, yeah, overall, it was very, very good. I really did enjoy it. Next is Voyage of the Damned by Frances White. This is an adult fantasy murder mystery about these royals from different kingdoms going on a cruise and then getting killed one by one. I DNF this one. I did. I loved that the main character was like a bitchy asshole, but like other than that, I was just kind of like, eh. Like the plot, the characters, the world building, I was just kind of like, like, it ultimately just became a chore to pick up, even though I was listening to this on audio. So I just stopped. I don't know. I'm sure it's great for somebody, but it just wasn't great for me. Alrighty, moving on into October. First off, we have Verity by Colleen Hoover. Now, if you've been here for a minute, you know that I can't stand Colleen fucking Hoover. You know that for a fact. So you're probably wondering, why the fuck did you pick up Verity? Well, first of all, I got this for Christmas last year. And by last year, I mean 2023. I got it for Christmas in 2023. It was Halloween, and I figured, what the hell? Sure, it's Halloween. What's scarier than Coho's writing? Okay, right? But anyway, so I was originally going to read this for a video, and when the video kind of fell through, I was just like, okay, I don't really need to read this anymore. So I DNFed it, and yeah, when the typical Coho bullshit kicked into full swing and I decided that I wasn't going to make a video reading along and reacting to this, I was just like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need to continue on with it. I don't. I'm good. Oh, what is this about also? This is an adult thriller about this woman who gets hired to finish writing a popular book series because the author is basically comatose, and she ends up having an affair with the author's husband. And yes, we are supposed to think that that is a good and great thing. Uh-huh. Let's move on. Next up is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This is an adult romance about these two former best friends that used to go on a yearly vacation together but haven't spoken in years after their last vacation went. But now they are trying to reconcile their friendship and more by going on one last vacation together. I gave this one a 4.2 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it, and I thought it was pretty fun and cute. I just liked it. It was a nice time. It was a nice, pleasant time. I don't think it's the best book by this author by any means, but I still gave it a 4 star, so that should tell you how much I really do enjoy Emily Henry and her writing. So yeah. Next up is Top Secret by Sabrina Bowen and Elle Kennedy. This is an adult, in big, bold, flashy neon letters, adult romance about two frat bros who can't stand each other in real life but end up anonymously hitting it off on a hookup app. And I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. What can I say? Based on my emphasis on adult, big, bold, flashing letters, adult, adult, adult. Not for anyone under 21, basically. Based on my saying of that, you can kind of guess that I kind of went into this for one reason and one reason only. And yes, that reason was met. What can I say? But I was actually really pleasantly surprised to find an actual cute romance here. Like, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's very generic. It has all the typical, kind of Wattpad-y college frat bro stuff you would expect. Like, one's a jock who's like rich bitch, dad's a CEO and stuff like that. The other's like bad boy, comes from a very bad household, brothers into drugs and all that kind of shit, whatever, and they come together, and you can kind of guess how it goes from there. But yeah, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's very generic. It's very much the definition of gay romance written for straight women. But even still, I still had a good time. I did. I still had a good time. And I would happily pick up another book by these authors. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Next up is The Stage is Set by Liliana Pizarca. This is an adult romantasy novella about a detective who is attracted to a jewel thief. Now, I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. Quick side note, I do know the author personally. I have worked with her, and I'm currently working with her. I work with her on like exchanging stuff. She reads a little bit of my story, gives me feedback on my story that I'm currently reading. I read this for her, at least most of it, and gave her feedback based on what I was reading and thinking of this story when she was still writing it. So I'm just putting that out there. I'm just disclaiming that, just full disclosure, full transparency, that does affect my rating. So yes, But yes, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. This is a very light and fun read with some interesting twists. I did like the twist in this one, and likable characters. I did enjoy the characters. I did enjoy the light, and I did enjoy the writing. I did enjoy the lore. The lore is very interesting. I hope that she expands upon it in the sequel whenever it comes out. And yeah, I'm very much excited for the sequel. Next up is You've Reached Sam by Dustin Thau. This is a YA contemporary about a girl whose crush tragically dies, but then she starts getting phone calls from his ghost and is able to talk to him again, but needs to start processing her grief and moving on. I DNFed this one. Listen. I got one chapter in and got fed up with the main character's nasty attitude, and I just didn't want to deal with it. I didn't. Look, I skipped to the end. The ending sounded pretty good, pretty interesting, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cute. But, I don't want to deal with the main character's attitude at the very start. Like, I'm sure she goes on a journey. I'm sure her nasty attitude at the start is very intentional. I'm sure she goes on a journey and she grows and changes and whatnot. But I just didn't want to put up with her nasty attitude at the start. I didn't. So yeah, I DNF'd it. Next is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is an adult romance about this workaholic woman who is forced to go on vacation to this small town and keeps running into this guy who is in the same industry as her. They both work in the publishing industry. He's an editor, she's an agent. And they haven't gotten along in years. They do not like each other. But now, new setting, getting to see new sides of people, what could happen? But I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. It is my favorite Emily Henry book so far out of the 4 that I read this year, which is honestly very, very impressive because I typically don't like books about books or books about book people, about people who work in the literary world, about agents, about publishers, about writers, whatever. I don't like books about books because I usually find them very pretentious and self-inserty, especially if they're about writers. But this one, I actually really like this one. I thought it was very, very fun. Again, with the banter. Ms. Emily Henry and her banter. I love this one. I love the characters. I love the setting. I love the plot. It's so cute. It's so much fun. It is. It's so much fun. I also really liked how this is basically a reverse Hallmark movie where you know how Hallmark movies go. The workaholic woman goes to the small town for Christmas or whatever. She meets, her guy friend that she hasn't seen in years, and he's still in the same town after they graduated high school or whatever, and she starts discovering like, oh wow, the small town life's for me. I'm gonna leave behind my $1 million job in New York and come work at the local bakery for $5 an hour. Like, oh, because I'm just in love. I love the small town. you know Hallmark movies if you know Hallmark movies. But this was basically a reverse Hallmark movie where everyone around her, especially her sister, was trying to get the main lady to really fall in love with the small town vibes and small town energy and whatnot. And she just like kept putting her foot down like, no, shut up. I love New York. I love being a city gal. I love being a workaholic. I love my job. I love making lots of money. I love going down to Central Park and doing all of the New York shit. I am not moving to fuck gas, bumfuck middle of nowhere. Y'all can get over it. So I really did like that. It was really fun. So yeah, this is my favorite Emily Henry book so far. Next is The Ex-Hex by Aaron Sterling. This is an adult romance about this witch who accidentally puts a curse on her ex, and it starts affecting the town's magic in all bizarre and dangerous ways. So they need to find a way to uncurse him and uncurse him quickly. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Now, I signed up for a fun Halloween fluff book, and that's exactly what I got. It was just fun. It was cute. It was Halloweeny. It was, fall vibes all around. It was just fun. It was just a fun, cute little fluff romance book, and I really liked it. So, yeah. I will say there are other books in the series. The other books did not sound nearly as interesting as this one, so I may or may not pick them up. I don't know. We will determine later this year in October whether I pick them up or not. Moving right along to Two Can Play by Ali Hazelwood. This is an adult romance novella about these two people from rival video game developer companies, and everyone from both companies gets sent on a holiday retreat to bond when a megacorp game, think Nintendo or something, wants the two indie studios to come together and work on a future game. I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was going to get a 4-star, but the smut dropped it down to a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's perfectly fine. It's a perfectly fine winter novella. It's kind of Christmassy, but not really. Like, it takes place around the holidays, but it's not a holiday thing. Like, it's just wintry. So, like, it's perfectly fine. I was able to get into it and get invested in the characters and the plot and whatnot very, very quickly, and just enough to be able to follow along in a satisfying way. I did love the lore of the book/video game series that they are making, the book series that they are transforming into a video game. I really did like the lore surrounding that whole thing. I found it very, very interesting every single time that they would talk about the game that they were making and the book series that it was based off of. So yeah, I really did like that aspect of it. Like I said, the smut dropped it by half a point for me, cause when it got to the smut, I was just like, okay, y'all have been going at it 4 times at least in the past 12 hours. With no sleep the night before. Are y'all not tired by now? Like, how are y'all not tired by now? How are his guys downstairs not just shriveled up into raisins at this point? You know, like, are y'all not tired? So it kind of took me out of it, but like, other than that, I thought it was fine. It was cute. It was fun. Next is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. This is an adult thriller, British domestic thriller, about this woman who starts dating this dude who has a daughter that strangely looks exactly like her own daughter, who got kidnapped several years ago. And she wants to know, like, okay, what the heck is up with that? Like, that's weird. Like, what's going on here? I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. This is what I meant by the British just do domestic thrillers better than Americans do. Because this was insane, and this was creepy, and I was here for it. Like, I genuinely got freaked out and disgusted in a good way when all of the dark stuff getting revealed. But I did ultimately drop it down to a 3 because the main character, she's really annoying, and she's also very narcissistic, and I didn't like her boyfriend either. Even when we were supposed to like him, I didn't like him, and also she just doesn't really do anything. I don't know how to properly explain that. Like, she just really doesn't do anything the whole book. Like, all of the dark, twisty, crazy shit gets revealed in like a disembodied voice POV, but like the main lady and her stuff, she just kind of like twiddles her thumb for the most part until she like stumbles upon a computer at the end and gets told the plot, or at least half of the plot, what happened to her in a video format, and then just kind of moves on with her life, and that's just kind of it. Moving on to November, we have Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tomi Adeyemi. This is the second book in the Children of Blood and Bone trilogy, and it got a 2 out of 5 stars for me. A huge downgrade from the first book. The plot is a mess, the lore gets very wonky. Oh my god. The lore of this one took me out of it because, like, okay, in the first book, you might remember from like a few minutes ago. A few minutes probably mean like half an hour ago at this point, but you might remember from the first book that the first book very much establishes that, okay, the government is evil. They're trying to persecute, enslave, kill, whatever, all the magi that exist just because they're prejudiced and they're bigoted. Okay, the government is firmly evil. This book, on the other hand, wants to try and take a more nuanced approach by being like, well, both sides are bad. You know, they hit us, we hit them, everyone's at fault. We all just need to lay down our weapons and come together and sing Kumbaya. and whatever, and build friendship bracelets at the Taylor Swift concert. It's like, no. And the book doesn't even really commit to that either, because it never tells me what the Magi have done against the monarchy to warrant that kind of approach. Like, if you're going to say both sides are bad, okay, you told me what one side does is bad. You haven't told me what the other side has done that's bad. No, tell me. If we're taking a both sides approach, tell me what the Magi done. Tell me. I'm very curious. And also, one character gets revived. I did not like that just conceptually, and they were not interesting enough to warrant their revival at all. One character I found very annoying, and it was like, girl, chill. Like I kind of get where your rage is coming from, but also, girl, chill. But now the other main character, I kind of like what was going on with her. She went off the rails, but I kind of liked what was going on with her. I did. Specifically the one that I'm talking about, who I liked, the princess, Amari. I liked what Amari was doing. Her journey in this one was very, very interesting. She went off the rails, but I liked her journey in this one. I might change my mind in the future on this one, but as of right now, I really don't think I'm gonna finish the series, just because this one was such a big disappointment, and everyone on Goodreads pretty much says that the next one and final one is like 10 times worse than this one, and also that the plot like shifts completely to focus on something completely different than what we've been following for the past 2 books. And I'm just like, like, I probably won't finish the series, but maybe I'll change my mind in the future. You never know. Next is The Personal Librarian by Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray. This is an adult historical fiction inspired by the life of Belle de Costa Green. And if you don't know who Belle de Costa Green is, like I didn't when I picked up this book, Belle de Costa Green is the, personal librarian of J.P. Morgan, who you might know from J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, big time investor in like the 1920s, and she was basically, very much art collector, stuff like that. She was in charge of like curating a personal librarian for JP Morgan. 5 out of 5 stars. I really, really loved this one. Like I said, I did not know who Belle de Costa Green was before reading this, but afterwards I was like, I'm gonna go do a little more research on this woman, because she's interesting. She really, really is. I really had a good time with this one. This was really, really interesting. It was really, really enjoyable, and it honestly reminded me that I do like historical fiction. I don't read it as much as I really should, but I really do. I like historical fiction, and this reminded me that I do like that genre. I do like that niche, and I need to read more of it. Anyway, writing, plot, characters, all of it very, very good, all of it very, very enjoyable, all of it very, very interesting. So yeah, I really did like this one. 5 out of 5. Next is Make the Season Bright by Ashley Herring Blake. This is an adult romance about these exes who end up being forced to spend Christmas with each other after they're both invited by their respective friends to spend the holidays at a mansion. One of the main ladies I really did like. I really did enjoy her. I liked her personality. I liked her journey. I liked her. The other main lady of this book, I wanted to turn to her and be like, you know what? You're really, really annoying. I actually really understand why your ex left you at the altar. Because you kind of deserved it. I'm sorry. I wouldn't want to spend the rest of my life with you. You kind of suck. So it's really bad when I have that kind of reaction towards the romance. Also, I found that most of the side characters were very underdeveloped. I felt in this book that there were like way too many sex scenes. I honestly did, and kind of similar to The Pairing, I really hate it when it feels like sex scenes are meant to supplement actual romantic development and actual romantic chemistry. There were points where in this book where like either we should have had a deep, meaningful conversation, or we kind of had a meaningful conversation, but we really should have gone deeper with the meaningful conversation. And instead of doing that, we were just like, oh, take off your bra. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It was just like, really? Is that what we're doing? Like, I don't know. Put your clothes back on. Let's talk. That's what we should have done in this one, but we just didn't. So yeah. Next is Air by Saba Tahir. This is a YA slash new adult fantasy. Again, it's billed as YA. She says it is YA, so I respect that, but also in my personal subjective opinion, just based on subjectively viewing art, I personally feel it does lean new adult too. So, whatever. I feel it leans more new adult, but it's billed as YA. She says it's YA, so YA new adult fantasy, first in the Air duology, set 20 years after the Ember series. A string of mysterious interconnected murders have been happening all across the world, and no one can figure out what is going on, nor does anyone really have the time to figure out what's going on, considering there is one country who wants to go to war and colonize everyone to get to this promised land that they believe that they are owed. Very timely, very, very timely with the current events of our world. This follows a prince of a falling empire, a trekker banished from her people, and a desperate girl following her faith in the hopes of freeing her people from tyranny. 5 out of 5 stars. It is a top 3 favorite of the year for me. I don't know whether this or Song of Achilles is my ultimate favorite of the year. I do not know, but Air and Song of Achilles are battling each other for my number one most favorite read of 2024. Like, I love this book so freaking much. This woman can write. She knows how to string sentences together. And y'all, I love the plot. I love the characters. I loved figuring out what was going on with the timeline. Like when I figured out what was going on with the timeline and it just clicked for me, it was so satisfying. It was like, oh, okay, I see what we're doing. Okay. And the way that everything and everyone comes together towards the end, like all the pieces come together like a jigsaw puzzle, it was amazing. It really, really was. It was amazing. And the ending, the ending, in typical Saba Tahir fashion, left me like, oh my god, I'm scared? How dare you? How dare you do that? But also, oh my god, I'm craving the next book. Like, oh my god, I need to know what happens next, because that was great. Oh my god. Like, and also the way that this author was able to perfectly write callbacks to the Ember series with familiar places and familiar characters, like Leia, Ellis, and Helene, the main characters of the Ember series. They all play supportive roles in this series. So there are callbacks to the Ember series, but even still, she doesn't let those nostalgic elements overshadow the new stuff. Like, all of the new characters and the new places and lore expansions that we get, I was very much craving to know more about them than I was to know what was going on with my old favorites and stuff. And that's really, really impressive, because like, I don't feel like most people pull that off when they write callbacks to their previous work. I really, really don't. For example, that new Wizards of Waverly Place show, right? We've all heard about it at this point. I too watched it. I watched a few episodes, but ultimately I was just like, okay, I see what Justin's up to. I know what Max is up to. I see what Alex is up to. Like, okay, I know what all my old favorites are up to, and the new characters, they're cute, but I'm not really interested in them. So I'm gonna dip out now after like 5 episodes. But yeah, not the case here. In this case with Air, I was very much like, okay, Leia, Alice, Aline, it's great to see y'all, but move. I'm more interested in what Quill, Aiz, and Saoirse are up to. Like, I want to know more about them. I am so invested. I am so invested in this story. I am so excited to see what happens next. Ah, my god. I don't know when the next book is coming out. I assume it's coming out sometime this year, but oh my god, you best believe that I will be first in line at the checkout aisle, on the virtual checkout aisle, because I'm not going in store, but I will be first in line in the virtual checkout aisle to get my hands on the next book in this Air duology, because I am so invested. I'm so looking forward to what's happening next. Ah, my god, it's so freaking good. Next is Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. This is an adult romance about these people whose moms used to be in a super popular band together, but things ended terribly. Now they're trying to convince their moms. By the way, their moms are not lesbians. Their moms are straight women. They were just friends. Just have to clarify that. These two people are trying to get their moms to, reunite the old band, and, get back together to throw on like a Christmas TV concert after the band has like a resurgence on TikTok or whatever. And the kids and their adult children are trying to convince their moms to, sign on and do the Christmas TV concert reunion band special thing because their children need money, basically. The adult children need money, basically. Yeah, DNF. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I really should have listened to the reviews on Goodreads. I really, really should have, because the reviews were not good. They were not good, y'all. Everyone on Goodreads was saying this is shit. But I was like, you know what? Tessa Bailey's a very popular author. I've never read one of her books. This sounds interesting. I kind of want to read her. I kind of want to read her. I just kind of want to know what she's about. Also, by the way, yes, this is the same woman who published the Touch Her and Die golfer romance from 2024. Yes, this is that same author. So that probably should have told me right away what we were in for. Like, I DNF this one simply because, like, this man and this woman met one time. They were doing, like, some being interviewed for like some documentary about their parents and stuff. So they met one time when they were 16. They had like a 10-minute conversation with each other. That's it. You hear me? That's it. Please tell me why 14 years later, they're both in their 30s now, and they are still hung up on that conversation, that 10-minute conversation from when they were 16 years old. Tell me. I'm confused. That was ridiculous. It's so unserious. And both of them in their POVs, because this is dual POV, both of them in their POVs were like, oh my God, that 10-minute conversation from when I was 16 years old from over a decade ago, when I'm now in my 30s, nothing compares to that conversation from when I was 16 with the person that I never saw again. No other romantic relationships that I've had over the past 14 years have ever compared to that one 10-minute conversation. Are you serious right now? This is the most unserious thing that I've ever heard of in my life. This is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard of in my life. I am so sorry. I don't mean any hate to Tessa Bailey. I'm sure she's a wonderful woman, but just the concept of that alone. And then I made it up to their first meeting in present day, and it was in his POV, the man's POV. And right off the bat, he was very much like, oh, I need to protect her. It's my manly instinct to protect her. I don't know this woman, but I need to protect her like a bear or whatever. I need to protect her. And also, oh my God, she's so fucking hot. Oh my God, I want to take her back to my room. I want to do all kinds of things to her. Blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Get a hold of yourself. What is wrong with you? We are discussing business dealings. Okay, we are discussing $1 million deal right here. Get yourself together. Okay? Chill. What the fuck is wrong with you? And I probably should have honestly pushed through just to see the woman's reaction to their first meeting after 14 years, but I didn't. But I have no doubt in my mind that she was having the exact same reaction of like, oh my God, he's so fucking hot. I need to take him back to my room. We need to do all kinds of things together. Blah, 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 blah. Shut up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Again, no hate to Tessa Bailey. I'm sure she's a wonderful woman, but ma'am, hand over the pen. You need to go in author jail. Hand over the pen. Hand over the laptop. You need to be banned from writing for a little bit while. I don't know how long. Maybe a year. Let's take a year off. Hand over the pen. Okay? Just hand over the pen. Like, no. I'm being melodramatic for the video, obviously, but still. Oh my God. Ugh. Anyway, moving on to Spectacular by Stephanie Garber. This is a new adult novella that is pretending to be YA. This is the fourth and final entry in the Carvel series. The basic premise is this girl, Tella, is fretting about finding the perfect Christmas holiday gift for her boyfriend, Legend, and seemingly gets kidnapped on Christmas Eve. Okay? I gave this a 2 out of 5 stars. This Either this or The Pairing was my most disappointing read of the year because I was really, really looking forward to them, and they both ended up being huge disappointments to me. But yeah, the first half of this novella was very cute, very Christmassy. It was exactly what I signed up for. It was very, very storybook. And I will say, the storybook element, oh my god, the storybook element is very much Stephanie Garber in her prime. That is just her natural writing style is just to be very much modern storybook fairy tales, just kind of modern fairy tales is very much her writing style. And the first half of this book, in terms of its character, dialogue, world building, plot, it was very much leaning into that like storybook, modern fairy tale energy. And it was honestly Stephanie Garber directly in her prime, 100% in her prime, in her element, whatever you want to call it. And also the illustrations, there's an illustration before every single chapter, and also there are some illustrations all throughout the chapters. The illustrations are just perfect for this book, at least the first half of it, and perfect for this author's writing style. Like, oh, I kind of want illustrations in every single one of Stephanie Garber's books now because it just fits her so perfectly. It fits her so perfectly. Oh my god. But yeah, the first half is so cute. It's so Christmassy. It's so fluffy. It's so magical storybook. It's so exactly just what I came for. It is exactly what I came for, exactly what I signed up for. It's so cute. It's so Christmassy. The second half, when Tella gets kidnapped. Ugh, girl. Mama, mother, what was that? Oh, no. The second half of this thing turns into some kidnapping 50 Shades, Diet 50 Shades, BDSM thing. And I was just like, huh? What are we doing? What is this? What are we doing here? And it was very much borderline non-con, and I do not go for that whatsoever. I don't go for the dark romance non-con stuff. No. Because there was stuff happening where Tella, where her kidnapper was getting very handsy, and she was like, "Oh my god, I don't like what's happening. Okay, this is not good." But okay, I'm gonna quickly develop Stockholm syndrome and gaslight myself into thinking that I'm liking this. I don't want to spoil it, but the ending kind of reverts on that, where she's like, oh, I knew that it was spoiler. I knew exactly blah 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 blah. So I was just faking being scared. I was just it was fine. It was good. I was chill the whole time. Even if I was appearing to be panicky, it was just for the vibes, honestly, just for the tension. And it's just like, okay, so we know that was not a good idea. So we were trying to very much backpedal on it, but just why? Just why? Oh my god. Oh. You know what I think it was? This is gonna sound mean, especially because I have been doing more TikTok recently, but Stephanie Garber really is popular on TikTok. Her books really are popular on TikTok, and book talk stereotypically, the stereotypical image of book talk is very much people wanting the dark, smutty, whatever kind of books, and so maybe she was like, oh, let's lean into that. Let's lean into what the book talk audience wants. And I was just like, no, can we not do that? No, let's not do that. Let's not do that ever again. Please, let's not. Anyway, let's move on to December, starting with Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. This is a YA contemporary at the time, it's now historical, but contemporary at the time, classic about the lives and loves of these two sisters, Eleanor and Marianne. Now, I kind of want to start reading more classics in the new year. In 2025, I do want to go through like Jane Austen's entire work, and then after I'm done with her, kind of read like Jane Eyre and like Frankenstein and all this kind of stuff. Like I kind of do want to read more classics in 2025. So I was looking at my how many books I've read in on my Goodreads challenge of reading challenge, and I was like, you know what? I'm at 46. I could probably do 50, and I've got a few in mind, but I need one more. I need one more to really push me to 50 books read this year. So let's add in Sense and Sensibility. Let's start my classics era a little bit early, and I was kind of right for doing that. Okay, I gave this a 3.9 out of 5 stars. It's almost a 4-star, but not quite. So I gave it a 3.99 out of 5 stars, and I really, really enjoyed it, y'all. I really was not expecting to like it as much as I did. I was kind of, no tea, no shade, I was kind of expecting a very demure, boring romance book. Like, that's just kind of what I was expecting. Like, oh my god, I spend my days sewing and now I've fallen in love with a duke, whatever, blah. Like, that's kind of what I was expecting. But Miss Jane Austen surprised me because she gave me drama, she gave me mess, she gave me tea. Like, okay, like, I was very surprised to learn that Miss Austen's writing style is very, very gossipy, at least in this one, because, like, especially in how she introduces characters, when she would introduce characters, she would be like, oh, here's the next door neighbor who is a nosy little bitch because she's into everybody's business, but, you know, we invite her over for tea every Tuesday because we have to put up with her. Oh, and also here's the Colonel, who he thinks that nobody knows about his secret love child, but we all secretly do, and we judge him for it. like I was just like, damn, these people are just introduced. They can't even catch a breath. Oh my god. Oh, okay. Like, it was just so messy. It was so drama. It was so tea. It was all the tea, all the shade. I was living for it. I honestly very much was. I was living for the plot. Oh my god, it was so good, y'all. It was very enjoyable. It was very enjoyable. I couldn't get like too deeply invested in the characters, but yeah, it was very enjoyable. I very much loved it. Moving right along to Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's / Philosopher's Stone. Okay, so we all know what this is about, right? You know, magical boy under the staircase got shot by Lord Voldemort, scar on his forehead, gets a letter from Hogwarts to, you know, go be with his people, and yeah, all that kind of stuff. We discover the Philosopher's Stone and all that shit. We all know what Harry Potter's about, right? Okay, 3 out of 5 stars. Now, let me just preface this. Let me just say, first of all, yes, I got an urge to do a reread. I don't know why. I got an urge to do a reread. But I already owned the series from years before. But from years before, when none of us knew, or at least most of us didn't know that Ms. Rowling was queen of the transphobes. Okay, so I already owned the series. So she who must not be named, even though I just named her 2 seconds ago, she who must not be named is not getting any money from me from this reread. Okay. Anyway, yes, this one is fun. It's nostalgic. Okay, I did have a good time. Sue me. But, like, also, 3 out of 5 stars. Because, like, it gets points taken away. Because, like, girl, Rowling's bigotry, in all shapes and sizes, ironically, in all shapes, sizes, flavors, and shades, Rowling's bigotry is just present throughout her writing in general. Like, she just cannot resist the urge to talk about how much she, like, hates bigger people, you know? Like, every single time that, like, Dudley was on screen, she just had to make some sort of hateful-ass comment about his weight and appearance and whatnot. It was just like, okay, I know the bitch is a brat, but, like, if he's a brat, we can make fun of him for his ugly ass personality, not the way he looks. You know, like we don't need to be resorting to fat phobia every 2 seconds. Like, ew. Like, oh my god, just Rowling, whatever however her name pronunciation is. She just can't resist putting in her bigotry in her books, even back then. It's just like, ew, you know? And also, the other thing that kind of brought the score down on this book for me is the plot itself just very much felt like Adventure of the Week sort of thing, like very much like TV episodic. Ironic, because they're making it into a TV show now. Ooh, pray for the kids who get casted in this shit. Anyway, but like, it very much felt, the plot felt like episodic Adventure of the Week sort of stuff, just kind of mushed together until we eventually got to the end. It's just like, okay, Okay, I guess. Sure, why not? Next is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. No, I have not read The Silent Patient, nor do I plan to now. Alrighty, so this is an adult thriller about this woman who is convinced that this weird professor has been murdering girls at her niece's college and she tries to prove it. Now, 1 out of 5 stars. This is also a bottom 3 worst of the year. This and Divergent are the ones competing to be my worst read of the year. I think that this one probably is the worst read of the year, just based on principle, because, yeah, Divergent was horribly written, but this one is straight up problematic, in my opinion. This author, man. Okay, and yes, I do not have a problem dragging authors that I find problematic. When it comes to books where I'm like, okay, I don't like the book, but I don't find the author problematic, I try to not drag the author whatsoever and just make it very clear that I don't like the book. But when it comes to stuff like this, where it's like, okay, I find you both problematic and I don't like your book, like Pick a Struggle, I don't have a problem dragging the author. Like, sue me. Well, don't actually sue me, but oh well. Anyway, this author, was more focused on making his writing style found very intellectual and whatnot. Like, oh, I'm so cultured, I'm so smart, whatever. Do you see the vibes that I'm creating with like this gothic mystery? Look, I'm connecting this to Greek mythology, whatever. I'm inserting psychology into this. Whatever. This man was so focused on making his writing sound very intellectual, pseudo-intellectual, mind you, instead of actually creating an interesting plot, cool characters with depth, and a good twist. I'm sorry, he was. Cause like the actual substance of this book was lost completely. It was just like, okay, I get it. You know stuff about psychology, at least you think you do, whatever. But like, okay, can we focus on the plot? Can we focus on solving the murders and shit? Can we please? I called who the killers were very, very early. I did. I'm not gonna spoil anything because that's the fun of thrillers and mysteries. So I'm not gonna spoil anything. But I called who the killers were very, very early, and I was like trying to make myself believe that it was somebody else because throughout the entire thing I was just like, oh, imagine if it's this. Imagine if it's these people that I called very early from the start. How fucking ridiculous would that be? How haha tee hilarious would that be? And then it turned out that my original guess was right, and I was just like, okay, 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 sure, let's go with that. Sure, let's go with that. But all of that would warrant just a 2-star. What drops this down to a 1-star and makes it my worst book of the year, along with making me feel okay with calling this author problematic and dragging him, is the sheer disrespectful and uncaring way that the author uses heavy topics. Child abuse, sexual abuse, stalking, power imbalances, mental health especially. The way that he just carelessly inserts these things to just no other reason than to just create scary vibes, hype up the tension. Oh my god, just like pearl clutching type of tension. That's how he uses such heavy things and heavy topics. And I found it very disgusting. I found it very, very disgusting. I was just like, okay, you don't want to have an actual conversation about any of these things. You don't want to use these for any substantial purpose. You just want to create spooky, scary vibes with these things, with like abuse and whatever, and stalking and mental health and whatever. And it's just like, fuck you. This is very disrespectful. This is very uncaring. This is just gross, in my opinion. The biggest example that I can give for this is there is one character who his entire purpose for existing, no other purpose for existing. There's one character whose entire existence is basically just to be the stereotypical crazy, insane, mentally deranged, psycho red herring. Not even character, because it's not even a real character. It's just a stereotype at that point. This is just a stereotype of a character, okay? That literally one character's entire existence is just be the stereotypical crazy insane mental hospital patient who needs to be locked up or something. That literally just that fucking stereotype. And I was just like, wow, interesting. We're still doing this in 2024. Well, 2021 when this book was published. We're still doing this bullshit when we're in the 2020s. Okay. Cool. Interesting. So, yeah, just based on how careless this author is when he uses heavy topics, and also, mind you, the twist is entirely dependent on these heavy topics, I really do. I find the use of heavy topics, in inserting them very carelessly, and just like very flimsily, I find that very disgusting. I will not be reading another book by this author ever again. No, I just found it very disgusting. But anyway, we are nearly at the end. Let's talk about Make My Wish Come True by Rachel Lippincott. I hope I pronounced the name right. I'm sorry if I didn't. But Make My Wish Come True by Rachel Lippincott and Allison Derrick. This is a YA romance where a Hollywood starlet comes back to her small hometown for Christmas to convince her former best friend to be fake girlfriends for the holiday season so that the Hollywood girl can book the biggest acting job of her career and the small town girl can publish the experience in this big ass magazine to, fluff up her college resume basically. Anyway, I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. It's very Hallmark. It really is. And I say that both in its small town charm as well as its ridiculous plot, because yes, the plot is ridiculous, but it's fun. It's charming. I like the dates. I like the Christmas dates. I love the small town. I love the grandma. Oh my God. I freaking love the grandma. She's my favorite character in this whole book. The only reason that I dropped this from a 4-star to a 3-star is the way that it handles its, typical Hollywood is evil. Everyone there is fake. Everyone's trying to take advantage of you. Whole message thing. I mean, granted it's true, but just the way that it was executed in this book was very poor in my opinion. So with the Hollywood girl, her backstory is basically, she went off to Hollywood when she was like 14. Her parents did not care about her until she started booking acting jobs and the money started rolling in. And then her parents were like, oh, okay, we still don't give a fuck about you, but now we can take all your money and run. Bye, bitch. So she got emancipated when she was 16, and now both her and the small town girl are 18 by the way. But now, so she's basically been living without her parents for years and years, and they were taking advantage of her. They were doing all this kind of stuff with her and taking her money and whatnot. So she turned to her agent, mind you, and kind of was looking at her like a mother figure of sorts, like a fill-in mother figure for years at this point, during the events of this book, when she finally realizes that, like, hey, my agent is not my mother. My agent is not my mother. She is here to get money out of me by booking me jobs. That's her job. But we are supposed to see it as like, oh, the agent didn't step up and be a mother figure. She just was taking the girl's money and whatever. And it's like, stop. Pause a minute. Because no, I'm sorry. Would it be nice if the agent stepped up as a mother figure? Sure, Jan, why not? Like, that would be nice. But, like, that's not her job. Her job is to get the girl acting jobs, and good acting jobs that pay a lot of money and move her up in the ladder of Hollywood. And that's what she did. That's exactly what she did. Okay, because the girl now is at 18 be able to buy a huge ass Malibu mansion and is like the most booked and busy Hollywood starlet in all the land, and is like one of the most famous people in the world now. So the agent did her job. The agent did exactly what was in the contracts. The agent is not your mother. She's not your therapist. She's not your friend. She is your agent. Her job is to book you work. That is it. Her job is to get you work, and she did. Okay, and she got you a lot of good work. That fact alone, just that element, I could not look past, so it dropped it from a 4 to a 3-star. But if you don't care about that, if you're not like me and that doesn't really matter to you, and you're just here, for what the book is actually about, which is like the 12 days of holiday dates and shit, this is actually a really cute book. I really did like the 12 dates of holiday Christmas Wonderland stuff. It was really cute. It really, really was. Next is The Queens of New York by E.L. Shen. This is a YA contemporary about these three Asian American best friend girls going their separate ways for summer break to embark on life-changing experiences. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this, y'all. Like, I have had this on my TBR for like a year or so, and I was like, it sounds cute, it sounds fun. Why not? I've been wanting to read it, but I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. Like I was expecting it to be like 3.54 stars, but I really, really love this. I love all the girls. I love all their storylines. I was very much invested in all of them, and I was left with a feeling of satisfaction. Like, okay, I really liked what I just read. I really did. I liked the journey. Like, I don't need more, but I also wasn't feeling like anything was lacking. Like, I'm satisfied with what happened. I really, really am. I like the journey that we went on. I read this on audio, and I really liked how this was directed, honestly. I also really love the overall theme present in every single storyline of finding one's own personal strength. And I thought it was I thought it was done very well in every single storyline. And yeah, I really love that overall theme of finding your strength and finding your power. And the final book that I read this year is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Again, do I really need to explain what this is about? Harry goes back to Hogwarts, the Chamber of Secrets has been opened, people start getting petrified, and we gotta figure out who the heir of Slytherin is and stop the basilisks and whatever. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I found it more coherent and enjoyable in terms of its plot than The Philosopher's Stone. So yeah, I liked it. It was fun. It was cute. It was nostalgic. Points taken again for the same hateful bigotry that Rowling put in the last book with her fat phobia and whatever. Yeah, Rowling just cannot resist being trash for 5 seconds. Truly, truly. Plus, points also taken because, my gosh, Harry is just a Mary Sue in the climax. Like, oh my god, the boy literally has to have everything handed to him in order to win. Anyway, also there are 3 books that I am not telling y'all about for one reason or another, and I'm just going to they're all self-help books, mind you, but I will just tell you my ratings of them. So self-help book number 1, 4 out of 5 stars, self-help book number 2, 5 out of 5 stars, and self-help book number 3, 2.7 out of 5 stars. Overall, that is all of the books that I read this year. In total, I read 50 books this year, which is my highest possible yet. I was very surprised that I could read 50 books this year, but yeah, I apparently did. Number of DNFs is 11, and the average rating of my overall year is, not including DNFs, just the 50 that I read and finished, the average star rating is a 3.7 out of 5 stars. But with DNFs, including the ones that I didn't finish, my overall star rating is 3.1 out of 5 stars. So overall, not that bad, honestly. Anyway, that is it from me. Tell me in the comments what you thought of this video. Tell me in the comments what you read this year. What are some of your favorite and least favorite books of this year? But if you have read any of these books, please tell me what you thought of them. And yeah, I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.